B would like to answer A. Change topic to another.
Hello everybody, 我是National Formosa University 的兼任老师。I'm a adjunct professor in National Formosa University, and today I'm going to present a part of my dissertation, which is titled Strategic Application from Perspective of Psycholinguistics. Actually, communication strategy is a very important part in our dialogue skills. And a lot of scholars has done research about how do we use communication strategy. Do we use it consciously or subconsciously? And before we discuss if they are used consciously or subconsciously, I would like to invite you to read the one-page handout, and you will see what our communication strategies are. So there are two sets of communication strategy. The first set is called a reduction strategy. It suggests the speakers use three types of strategy to avoid the interruption or confusion among our communication. The first one is called topic avoidance. The topic avoidance means that we can hint our interlocutors and tell them that we have encountered a block that is from our linguistic limitation. So if we have a linguistic limitation due to less lexical items in our brain, we might have to hint our interlocutors that we would like to change the topic, or we would like to talk something else. That means that we will have to avoid some embarrassing situations from this conversation. Another meaning for topic avoidance is that we can reduce the accuracy of pronunciation in our language speaking. For example, there are a lot of phonetics that is hard for Asian or for Chinese to pronounce. Then we can avoid them. For example, there are some consonant like this is very difficult. You can you replace it with s, and that will make your speaking very fluent. However, there might be some defect in your dialogue, but it is okay. Your interlocutor can understand it. The most important goal in our communication is to understand each other. So we can use topic avoidance. Another skill means meaning replacement. Meaning replacement means that when we encounter some high-level lexical items, we can use simpler words to replace it. We can think about a general word to replace it. For example, if 红萝卜 carrot is difficult, we can say it's a vegetable. If we don't know how to say spinach, 菠菜, then we can pronounce it in a general word like vegetable. The vegetable that is in very dark green color. So this is called a meaning replacement. Another strategy is message abandonment. Now you will give up, keep thinking one word that is too difficult, and you will skip that word and think about how the other words. You don't insist to obsess on one word. So this strategy is called a reduction strategy. Another strategy is more aggressive. It is called achievement strategy. Achievement strategy means that you do not, just due to your linguistic limitation, then you stop your talking. You will have to figure out how to achieve your intended meaning. There are two methods. The first one is called interlanguage-based strategy. Interlanguage-based strategy means that you can use the general word, or you can use approximate meaning to replace very accurate high-level lexical item. So you can also, based on your Chinese literacy ability, to recreate a new word that even the native speaker have never heard of before. So you can use the word coinage strategy. Word coinage means 助词. Like 仓颉造字, 助词, you will coin a word that is totally new. It's okay. So, for example, a word that can be created, like balloon, might be a difficult word for a person that have not learned English for a long time. He can say it, air ball. Air ball will be acceptable to replace balloon. So these strategies are based on your own language background, and you can recreate some new ways to make your interlocutor understand your intended meaning. And another very important strategy is called cooperation strategy. That means that you will hint the others to tell them that I don't know what that words mean. So would you please explain it for me? You will ask your partner to help you understand his or her intended meaning. This is called cooperation strategy. That means that you will resort to the assistance from your interactant. Okay, so these two sets are called communication strategy, and each set has at least two strategies. So let's see if we use these strategies consciously or subconsciously. Do we identify that we are using communication strategy? Is it identified? Is it identifiable or unidentifiable? Can we aware of our brain? Do we use this strategy consciously or subconsciously? So when I do the research, I find out that a lot of scholars are doing this. Slinker, Farchen, Gasper, Kumaravadiblu, Bidisco, Gas and Slinker, Wayman and Daly, and Dornay and Scott and Cohen are all doing this research, the brain research. Do we use communication strategy consciously or subconsciously? And Slinker is a scholar that is really famous in this field, and he can be a pioneer of this field. And because he has done the research a very long time ago, so he declared that we use communication strategy subconsciously. We don't have awareness when using communication strategy. Long time ago, he declared that we use this strategy with a latent structure in our brain, and this latent structure make our thinking with a universal grammatical rule. So we use the latent structure to murmur some language when we are very young, and after we have grown up, we keep this habit. So he thinks that we are naturally able to use all of this strategy. So for investigating whether the strategy application is under conscious plane, my study conducted in Donghai University, and we use one semester to teach students strategy and make them think about if they use it subconsciously or consciously. And the key word in this study will be communication strategy, strategy application, conscious plane, subconscious status, psycholinguistic perspective, latent language structure, language organ means a latent structure, and psychological procedure, and the universal grammar and psychological analysis. So Slinker believes that we naturally are able to use all of this strategy when we are very young, and this habit can be maintained till that we are very old. So he believes the strategy application is subconscious behavior, since he has indicated that certain language learners might achieve native speakers' competence through activating the latent structure. So that is why the little child can be more native-like than us. That is because they did not have too much cultural background. So they can use their latent structure and sound very nature and like a native speaker. Okay, so this is the Slinker's theoretical foundation. So it is the language organ in human being's brain which is called latent structure, which is able to resort to universal language rules. The language structure has already set up in our brain when we were just born, and naturally generate language without too much effort. They don't have to be educated. They don't have to learn a lot. They can say something. But in a similar attitude, Landenberg thinks that we use communication strategy with the language structure in our brain. So Landenberg suggests that the latent structure was a type of structure associated with the language function in a human being's brain. And there are 3 steps that we produce our language production. The first one is we use the latent structure. The latent structure is a formulated arrangement in the brain. The nerves are all very well arranged. So the latent structure is the biological counterpart of universal grammar. And it is transformed by infant into the realized structure of a particular grammar in accordance with certain maturational stages. So Langton give more explanation for Slinker's. I'm sorry, Langton is earlier, and the Slinker is later than Landenberg. So they are all scholars like 50 years ago. And there were no communication strategies systemized by the later scholars. So they say we use communication strategy, the interlanguage subconsciously. Later, there are a lot of scholars systemize or classify a lot of language that is through latent structures. So we modern people, I can say we use communication strategy is consciously because a later scholar has classified the language that has been produced by the latent structure. So later people, the learners, can use communication strategy consciously. So through the latent structure, language learner could be able to speak a target language more native-like without considering for a long time. So that is the theory of the Slinker. The reason was that the learner might automatically resort to the usage of interlanguage strategy genetically and speak a target language as fluently as a native speaker without resorting too much consciousness. And later there are a pair of communication strategy pioneers. They are Farch and Gasper. Farch and Gasper, they give definition to the language that has been created by latent structure, and they call them interlanguage. They call them communication strategies. And later, scholars have done the research about the status of conscious or subconscious. And Kumaravadlu, he thinks that we use the communication strategy with awareness. That is, we will produce our language through overgeneration first, and secondly, we will do the creative transfer, and then we base on our cultural relativity and produce our language. So we can identify that Kumaraya the Blue, he thinks that we use communication strategy consciously. So finally, I will say we use communication strategy consciously since that they have been classified and very systemized into different taxonomies. So we use it consciously. However, if we use it a lot and we overuse it, some of the uses can be fossilized. Then we use it subconsciously. So this is my conclusion. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your presentation. So, do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions?
I have one question about the definition of consciousness. That is, how do you define consciousness? Because we need to know exactly what consciousness in order to make a distinction.
It can depend on if you are aware what you are talking about, and if you can aware the ability that you have, you can think back if you are able to say something. Is it from my awareness, or it is very natural? I just say it. So this is a very difficult part to answer.
Process, or it is an online process. That is, you are aware of what you are thinking, or what the processes are involved while speaking, or you are when you recollect.
I think later people might use some instrument to test our conscious or subconscious. And we are just figure out if we use it conscious or subconscious. And the question that you are asking is how to define if we are in awareness or we just say it carelessly. Or it is very difficult to define. Yeah. So I just say that firstly we learn it, so we say it consciously because we follow the rule that is consciously. Later we do not really think about the regulations of a communication strategy, and we say it with the habit that we have accumulated. And some strategy has fossilized in our brain. So you will, according to different situations, our brain can react very naturally. So that is subconsciously.
So when you speak of fossilization, you mean automaticalization?
Automaticalization. That is not my theory. That is some. I have read the book that some speaker says that you will depend on certain situation and you reflect to certain strategies. So this kind of behavior can be learned in the very beginning. However, in the later stage, this kind of reflection can be fossilized in some nerves of our brain. So we can very maturely reflect to those strategies and create the language production. And this stage is the subconscious stage.
So there could be a difference in the development, depending on which stage you are in the language. There could be varying degrees of consciousness. That is, in the earlier stage, you could be in the so-called conscious stage.
That is right.
Aware.
That is right. Yes. In the very early stage, that is conscious. And why it is conscious? Because they are classified. And before they are classified, body stock said that we use it subconsciously based on the grammatical structure of the universe. Thank you very much. I hope that our instrument can measure our conscious and subconscious.
Actually, there has been a lot. For example, EEG or fMRI, that they would measure our, neurotic activities in different ways.
I hope I can have the opportunity to approach those equipments.
We do, in our psychology department, we do have those kind of equipment.
Okay. I hope to do research in your department.
Any other question? Yeah, I do have a question. I just wonder, is there a clear cut between the subconscious application of strategy use and conscious application? Is there any very clear line?
That is the question that he has just asked. It is very difficult to define, and we need some equipment. But we can very generally define it by the time that we have approached communication strategy. For example, if a student in elementary school, he might use communication strategy subconsciously. And if a person that he use communication strategy and speak in English in university, in his freshman year, it should be consciously. And after he graduate, he go to the society and he might reflect to the strategy he had learned in school. That would be subconsciously. I would say it with a very rough explanation without the measurement instrument.
Have you done any research to gather the data to support your conclusion? Because you just
we have interviewed the students, and they say because I have learned, so that is conscious. Most people say this. Yeah.
But because it involves some kind of, it is easier to say that, okay, I'm aware or I'm conscious of something, but it is unlikely to say that I'm unaware of.
Yeah, that's good point. Yeah.
Can you say that again? I did not catch you.
If a student can or a subject can reflect on, answer that they are aware of something that you have just mentioned.
Right. That would be definitely
right,
consciously.
But on the other hand, if you ask them if you are unaware of something, they
It's
would
always
be
an intellect because you are unconscious.
Great.
So that will never know. That will be never know.
So how do you know? How are you conscious
So that
of
is
what
the
you are unconscious
conclusion.
of?
We need the scientific measurement
Right.
instruments. I think this subject can be completed in this school, maybe.
Yes, we don't need more
I'm
evidence.
apply a position in our school.
Well, actually, I think that in an experimental setting, this could also be done. In other words, you might have to measure the so-called reactivity time to see, certain strategies would be applied faster than, it's not.
That's
to
right.
determine.
That's right.
And there has been some early studies deciding on the so-called, I forgot that word, but it seems that there's a threshold, okay, beyond which you are conscious, okay, and before which you are, you should not be conscious of that, okay, and there seems to be some about 40 milliseconds of, so if
Of the consciousness. After
Right.
40 seconds, you
That's
might
a-
have the ability to speak very consciously.
That's just a general statement. In other words, it is kind of average number over a large number of population. So it is possible that you can make use of earlier research in that respect to determine, in your research design to determine whether they are conscious or unconscious of your stimuli.
Okay, we might have to find more samples, more students to tell us if they can keep their conscious for how much time.
All right, time is up, so I'd like to conclude this session. If you still have questions, please approach to our presenter after this